Okay, so here's the first page of Google search results for the term the child pornography industry. Okay, I read a couple of the articles. I read this one, and I'm gonna talk about this one. I've said before that I don't use code for excerpts and things that I use to try to support my arguments about what's going on. I chose this one for a number of reasons. One is that it was a major media source, right? And it's from a few years ago. Let's say it's from 2000. I think it's from 2003. And I think that means something. It's important to consider what was happening before the conglomerate started. And let's see. And then here's this, right? Here's this. Who knows what the actual temperature is? And there's this. I mean, if I had written this article, I would be incredibly upset. I mean, I assume this person probably, and everyone who is sickened by this sort of thing probably feels this way. I mean, imagine doing the research, writing an article about something like this, and then 10 years later, it's surrounded by things promoting. I mean, this ad in particular is promoting child pornography, right? And it's also talking about the apartment number that I had no control over. I had no control over it. I had no control over this. This is what was assigned to me. I visited an apartment here that they don't rent out to anyone, and then I was given this number of an apartment. I mean, maybe they didn't want me to move in, which I can understand. I can understand to the extent that helping me in any way whatsoever is a risky thing to do because the conglomerate persecutes me. But I had to get a place to live. It's very, very, very difficult to be homeless. All right, so here's the article. If you view it as a single page, which I did, if you view it as a single page, it brings up, here's this next to it at the end, right? It's sad. It's just incredibly sad. Oh yeah. All right. So let's see. Dark world of child porn. As usual, it took a celebrity bust to finally interest the public in a scandal. This time, the celebrity is Pete Townsend of The Who, and the scandal is child pornography. Townsend is accused of downloading and sharing kiddie porn films, purchasing them with his credit card. Townsend, for his part, claims he was researching a book on his own suspected abuse as a child, the genesis of Tommy's Uncle Ernie, among other indicators in his book of work. His body of work and some of his web writings from more than a year ago suggests that there may be some truth in this. On the other hand, there are procedures for this sort of research, none of which Townsend appears to have followed. Moreover, research has become a tired alibi for pederasts and other visitors to the underworld over the last decade. Every sleazeball with a disc full of pictures of naked children turns out to be working on an expose book. And that is actually one of the reasons why I haven't done more research specifically about child porn. I have been wondering about that. I've been thinking, well, how wouldn't that be great? Have people who are, supportive of the conglomerate checking out what I have on the computer and saying, oh, we found, we've got, you've been doing search for child porn. It's like, oh yeah, I really haven't done them because I have been wondering about that. But it looks like there's an actual procedure for doing it, which I didn't know. But he talks about that. Though I suspect that Townsend may be telling the truth, I have no firm opinions either way. What I do have a strong opinion on is that the media continues to utterly fail in its reporting of this topic, and the consequence of this failure is horrible beyond imagining, and one day it will touch us all. And how do I know this? Because I've visited those depths and returned a shaken man, the shocking truth. 3 years ago, as editor of Forbes ASAP magazine, I was approached by Robert Grove, my multimedia editor, and producer of my TV shows. The story he told me was shocking. Like most people, I knew that child porn, the most despicable crimes, was available somewhere out there on the web, but I assumed it was furtive, tiny, and all but inaccessible, the province of a handful of perverts passing photos back and forth. What Bob told me was stunning. What he had learned from his sources was that child porn wasn't a tiny boutique industry but a global empire, that it wasn't hidden but easy to find. But most of all, he said this wasn't just some crude back alley operation, but a sophisticated business octopus using some of the most sophisticated computer software and encryption conveyed by some of the biggest and most legitimate corporations, and with revenues of billions of dollars. Worst of all, Bob said this creepy shadow organization ultimately had the potential to morph into dangerous new forms and threaten our national security. I gave Bob the assignment to chase the story as far as it would go. Little did he or I know how far that would be. The first, we did one thing. Pete Townsend apparently never did. We went to the feds. In our case, it was the FBI office in Oakland, California. There, the agents did exactly what they should have done. They warned us that if we were lying or downloading any of the sites, they would throw us in jail. In turn, as editors for Forbes ASAP, we agreed to turn over any leads we had. And then we began a 3-month tour of hell. You may think you know what the child pornography industry is, but no matter how cynical you are, you do not. Yes, it is naked children exposing themselves, but it is worse than that. It is adults having sex with children, even babies. But it is worse than that. It is the rape. But it is worse than that is the rape and torture of little children. But hard as it may be to accept, it is even worse than that. A couple of years ago, the Italian press ran a story that received little pickup in the U.S. media. It was about the arrest of an Italian-Russian pederast ring that was taking orders from customers to kidnap Russian orphans according to pre-specified characteristics like hair color, then torture and kill them on camera for posting on the web. This is the very heart of darkness. There are images that are more shocking and repulsive. They kill your soul, in part because you know that every poor child you see on these sites is dead, if not now at the hands of a sadist, and decades from now, from drugs, alcoholism, or suicide. The pictures first make you sick, then angry, and finally homicidal. If you could get a hold of the people perpetrating this, you would kill them with your bare hands. But you can't. The best thing you can do is expose them, so you go on. Very quickly, I made it a point not to look at the pictures anymore. That was my prerogative as editor, but it was already too late. There were already certain unspeakable images so burned into my brain that even now I wish I could take a scalpel and cut them out. But Bob had no choice. He had to look. Only his fury and hatred of these people and his desire to destroy them kept him going. And when that wasn't enough, he'd go out at night and get drunk to try to destroy the memories. And in the end, at considerable cost to his psyche, Bob got it all, from the poor families in the Eastern Bloc and Africa selling their kids to porn merchants, to sophisticated software and encryption designed to bury these sites in plain sight, to the giant internet and financial services companies that make only a cursory effort to defend themselves from being used as conveyors of this evil smut to its degenerate customers. By the time Bob finished his story, Forbes ASAP was dying. There was no place to run the story, so he took it to the mothership, Forbes, which wanted nothing to do with it. In the end, it was Red Herring and its heroic managing editor, Blaise Zaranga, who finally bought the story to print. You can read it at, and there's the address for it. And that was it. Bob won a well-deserved award for his work. The feds made a few busts seemingly based on our leads, and the child porn scandal disappeared from the public consciousness. I am about to run out of seconds to record this, so I'm gonna stop this recording.